If you've been spraying baking soda on your tomato plants because someone online promised it was a miracle solution, you need to hear this before you spray again. Baking soda has earned a reputation as one of the easiest homemade garden remedies. It's inexpensive, easy to find, and countless videos claim it can stop fungal diseases, save your tomato plants, and even improve your harvest. But there's one mistake thousands of gardeners make every growing season. And instead of protecting their tomatoes, they end up causing damage that can take weeks to recover from, or worse, ruin the harvest entirely. The scary part is that most people don't even realize baking soda was the cause. The truth is, baking soda isn't the villain. When used correctly, it can play a small role in helping manage certain fungal problems, especially powdery mildew. Scientists have studied its effects for years, and many experienced gardeners have successfully used it as a part of a broader disease prevention strategy. But baking soda isn't a magic cure, and it certainly isn't harmless simply because it's found in your kitchen. Like many gardening products, the difference between helping your plants and hurting them often comes down to how, when, and how often you use it. Tomato plants are among the hardest working vegetables in the garden. They spend months growing lush stems, producing flowers, and filling dozens of fruits with water and nutrients. To do all of that, their leaves act like tiny solar panels, capturing sunlight and converting it into the energy needed to grow and ripen fruit. Every healthy leaf matters. When those leaves become damaged, the plant's ability to produce food drops, and that can directly affect the size, quality, and number of tomatoes you harvest later in the season. That's why today's video could save your garden from a mistake that often starts with good intentions. We'll uncover why baking soda sometimes burns tomato leaves, why tomatoes are more sensitive than many other garden plants, the biggest application mistakes that almost nobody talks about, and the safest way to use baking soda if your plants truly need it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly when baking soda is helpful, when it's risky, and how to protect your tomato harvest without accidentally harming the very plants you're trying to save. Before we talk about the biggest mistake, it's important to understand what baking soda actually does. Many gardeners believe it kills fungal diseases the way a chemical fungicide does, but that's not entirely true. Baking soda, also known as sodium bicarbonate, mainly changes the environment on the surface of the leaf. Many fungal spores need the right moisture and pH conditions to germinate and spread. When a light baking soda solution is sprayed onto leaves, it creates a less favorable environment for those spores, making it harder for certain fungal diseases such as powdery mildew to establish themselves. That's why baking soda works best as a preventative measure, not as a cure for plants that are already heavily infected. Now here's where many YouTube videos leave out a critical detail. Baking soda contains sodium, and sodium is not a nutrient that tomato plants need in significant amounts. While the amount in a properly mixed spray is usually small, problems begin when gardeners assume that if a little works, more must work better. Stronger mixtures don't make baking soda more effective against fungi. Instead, they increase the risk of damaging the delicate leaf tissue that tomato plants depend on for healthy growth. This damage is called phytotoxicity, which simply means injury to a plant caused by a substance that is supposed to help it. It often starts quietly. You may notice tiny yellow spots on the leaves, followed by brown edges or dry patches that seem to appear overnight. In more severe cases, entire sections of the leaf become scorched, curl inward, and eventually die. Many gardeners mistakenly blame the hot weather, a fertilizer problem, or even a disease, never realizing that their homemade baking soda spray they applied a day or two earlier triggered the damage. Tomato leaves are naturally thinner and more delicate than many people realize. Their protective outer layer, known as the waxy cuticle, helps reduce water loss and shields the leaf from harsh environmental conditions. When baking soda is applied too heavily or too often, especially under stressful weather conditions, that protective barrier can be weakened. Once the leaf loses part of its natural protection, it becomes much more vulnerable to intense sunlight, heat, and dehydration. Instead of helping the plant fight disease, the spray leaves it struggling to recover from unnecessary stress. The unfortunate part is that leaf damage doesn't just affect appearance. Every damaged leaf produces less energy through photosynthesis. Less energy means fewer resources are available for developing flowers, filling fruits, and ripening tomatoes. If enough leaves are affected, the plant may begin dropping blossoms, producing smaller fruit, or slowing its overall growth. What started as a simple attempt to protect the plant can gradually reduce the very harvest you were hoping to improve. And here's the biggest surprise of all. Many gardeners apply baking soda to perfectly healthy tomato plants just in case. Without any signs of powdery mildew or other susceptible fungal diseases, they repeatedly spray week after week throughout the season. In many cases, those plants never needed the treatment in the first place. Preventing disease is important, but unnecessary applications expose the plant to repeated stress without providing meaningful benefits. Sometimes the safest thing you can do for a healthy tomato plant is simply leave it alone and focus on proper watering, good airflow, and regular inspection.
The single biggest baking soda mistake isn't simply using it. It's believing that more is better. This one misunderstanding has damaged countless tomato plants. After hearing success stories online, some gardeners double the amount of baking soda in their spray bottle, hoping for stronger disease protection. Others spray every few days, convinced that frequent applications will keep every fungal problem away. Unfortunately, tomato plants don't see it that way. Instead of receiving extra protection, they're exposed to increasing amounts of sodium and alkalinity, putting unnecessary stress on their leaves. Another common mistake is spraying during the hottest part of the day. Imagine a tomato plant sitting under the blazing afternoon sun. Its leaves are already working hard to stay cool by releasing water through tiny pores called stomata. Now add a fresh coating of baking soda solution on top of those leaves. Under intense sunlight and high temperatures, the moisture evaporates quickly, leaving behind concentrated baking soda crystals. Those crystals can irritate the leaf surface, increasing the risk of scorching and burn. This is why experienced gardeners always avoid spraying during the heat of the day, regardless of the product they're using.
Weather conditions also play a bigger role than many people realize. A baking soda spray that causes no problems on a cool, cloudy morning could damage leaves during a week of extreme heat. High temperatures, drought stress, and low humidity all make tomato plants more sensitive. If the plant is already struggling to find enough water, even a mild spray can become one more source of stress. Healthy plants are better able to tolerate treatments than plants that are already fighting harsh environmental conditions. There's another mistake that often goes unnoticed. Some gardeners mix baking soda with several homemade ingredients they found in different online recipes. They combine baking soda with vinegar, hydrogen peroxide, strong dish soap, essential oils, or other household products, believing they'll create a more powerful disease spray. In reality, these mixtures can become unpredictable. Some combinations cancel each other out, while others increase the chance of leaf injury. Just because each ingredient is common in the home doesn't mean they are safe or effective when mixed together and sprayed on tomato plants. One of the most overlooked problems is failing to test a spray before treating the entire garden. Every tomato variety is a little different. Weather conditions differ from one location to another, and even two plants growing side by side may respond differently. Professional growers often test a new spray on a few leaves and wait at least 24 to 48 hours before applying it to every plant. That simple step can prevent widespread damage and save an entire crop from an avoidable mistake. The good news is that tomato plants are remarkably resilient when they're cared for properly. If you catch a mistake early and stop repeated applications, new, healthy growth can often replace damaged leaves over time. But if the plant is repeatedly stressed during flowering and fruit development, the effects may show up weeks later as fewer tomatoes, slower ripening, or reduced fruit size. That's why understanding how and when to use baking soda is far more important than simply knowing that it can help fight certain fungal diseases. So, if baking soda isn't something you should spray carelessly, when does it actually make sense to use it? The answer is surprisingly simple. Baking soda is most useful when conditions favor powdery mildew, one of the few fungal diseases it has consistently been shown to help suppress. Powdery mildew usually appears as a white, dusty coating on leaves and spreads rapidly during periods of high humidity, poor air circulation, and warm days followed by cool nights. If your tomato plants show no signs of this disease and the weather isn't encouraging it, routine baking soda sprays are often unnecessary. Even when powdery mildew is present, baking soda should never be your only line of defense. Healthy tomato plants are built long before a spray bottle ever comes out. Proper spacing between plants allows air to move freely through the foliage, helping leaves dry faster after rain or morning dew. Watering at the base of the plant instead of soaking the leaves reduces moisture where fungal spores thrive. Removing overcrowded lower leaves improves airflow even more. These simple gardening habits often prevent disease better than repeated spraying. One mistake that surprises many gardeners is spraying after the disease has already taken over the plant. Once a fungal infection becomes severe, baking soda is unlikely to reverse the damage. Leaves that are heavily infected won't suddenly turn green again because they were sprayed. At that stage, the goal shifts from curing damaged leaves to slowing the spread while removing the worst affected foliage and improving growing conditions. This is why experienced gardeners inspect their plants regularly, instead of waiting until the disease is obvious. Another overlooked issue is spraying too close to harvest simply because the fruits look healthy. While baking soda itself is a common household ingredient, repeated last-minute spraying without a real need offers little benefit. Healthy fruits depend on healthy leaves. If unnecessary sprays damage those leaves late in the season, the plant may struggle to finish ripening the remaining tomatoes properly. Sometimes the best decision is to leave a healthy plant alone and let nature finish the job. Here's a lesson that many experienced gardeners eventually learn. Every spray, whether homemade or commercial, should have a purpose. Don't spray because it's trending online. Don't spray because someone said they do it every week. Ask yourself one question first. What specific problem am I trying to solve? If you can't answer that question, it's probably better not to spray anything at all. Every unnecessary treatment adds stress, costs time, and increases the chance of accidental damage. The healthiest tomato gardens usually aren't the ones with the most bottles on the shelf. They're the ones where the gardener observes the plants closely, waters consistently, improves the soil, provides good airflow, and only steps in with treatments when there's a genuine need. That thoughtful approach doesn't just reduce disease, it builds stronger plants that are naturally more capable of producing a heavy, flavorful harvest. By now, you've probably realized that baking soda isn't the miracle cure many people make it out to be. But it's not something you need to fear either. The real danger isn't the baking soda itself. The danger is using it without understanding how it works. A stronger mixture won't protect your tomatoes better. Spraying more often won't guarantee a disease-free garden. And treating healthy plants just in case can sometimes do more harm than good. Remember the most important lesson from today's video. Tomato leaves are the plant's food factories. Every healthy leaf captures sunlight and converts it into the energy needed to produce flowers, grow larger fruits, and ripen a productive harvest. When those leaves are burned, stressed, or unnecessarily damaged, the entire plant pays the price. The effects may not show up immediately, but weeks later, you could be wondering why your tomatoes are smaller, your harvest is lighter, or your plants seem to have lost their vigor. The best gardeners aren't the ones who spray the most. They're the ones who observe the most. They walk through their gardens regularly, checking the undersides of leaves, watching for the first signs of disease, noticing changes in weather, and responding only when there's a genuine problem to solve. That simple habit often prevents more problems than any homemade garden spray ever could. So, before you reach for that box of baking soda again, stop and ask yourself, does my tomato plant actually need this treatment? If the answer is no, you've just avoided one of the most common mistakes gardeners make. If the answer is yes, use it carefully. Follow a proven recipe. Avoid spraying during hot, sunny weather, and remember that baking soda is only one small tool in a much larger gardening toolbox. Healthy soil, proper watering, good airflow, regular pruning, and consistent observation will always do more for your tomato harvest than relying on any single homemade remedy. Those practices build stronger plants from the ground up, making them naturally more resilient against pests, diseases, and environmental stress. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with another gardener who believes baking soda is a cure-all for every tomato problem. You might save them from making a costly mistake this growing season. And if you enjoy practical, science-backed gardening tips that separate myths from facts, be sure to subscribe to Savage Harvest and Heal and turn on notifications. We have many more videos coming to help you grow healthier plants, avoid common gardening mistakes, and harvest more from every season. Until next time, thanks for watching and happy gardening!